My dear friends, is it possible to be very religious and yet miss the heart of faith? On this fifth Sunday in Ordinary Time, the readings challenge us to move from outward religion to a faith lived through mercy, humility, and light. Isaiah spoke to the people of Israel during a time when they were very serious about religious practices like fasting and prayer, especially after returning from exile. However, their faith had become external. They observed rituals but ignored the poor, the hungry, and the suffering around them. Through Isaiah, God challenges this false spirituality and calls the people back to a faith lived through compassion and justice. In the reading, God clearly explains what true worship looks like. It is not just about fasting, prayers, or religious duties. God asks his people to share their bread with the hungry, welcome the homeless, clothe the naked, and care for those in need. These simple acts of kindness reveal a heart that truly belongs to God. When we ignore those who suffer, especially those close to us, our worship becomes empty. The passage also carries a beautiful promise. When we live with compassion, our light will break forth like the dawn. This means that God's presence will become visible in our lives. Darkness, fear, confusion, and selfishness will slowly disappear. God assures his people that he will hear their prayers, guide them, and strengthen them when they choose to serve others. This passage invites us to examine our own faith. Do we practice our religion only on special days, or does it shape how we treat people every day? Isaiah reminds us that loving God and loving our neighbor cannot be separated. When we feed the hungry, care for the poor, and stand with the suffering, we become living signs of God's light in the world. In this way, Isaiah prepares the way for the Beatitudes, where Jesus blesses the poor, the merciful, and those who hunger for righteousness. Which act of mercy is God inviting you to today? In the second reading, taken from St. Paul's first letter to the Corinthians, St. Paul reminds the Christian community in Corinth how he first preached the gospel to them. Corinth was a city that admired wisdom, clever speech, and public debate. Paul deliberately chose a very different approach. He says that when he came to Corinth, he did not rely on powerful words, advanced knowledge, or human wisdom. Instead, he focused on one simple message: Jesus Christ and Christ crucified. This was not an attractive message by worldly standards. A crucified Messiah seemed weak and foolish to many. Yet Paul knew that this message was the true source of salvation. He admits that he came in weakness, fear, and trembling. Paul is not ashamed of this. He understands that faith does not grow because a preacher is impressive, but because God's Spirit is at work. Paul's goal was clear. He did not want the Corinthians to base their faith on human wisdom. Human ideas change, they fail, and sometimes even deceive. But faith rooted in God's power remains strong even in times of difficulty. By preaching simply and humbly, Paul allowed God to take center stage. This passage challenges us to rethink what we truly value in our lives. In a world shaped by social media and the success culture, we are easily impressed by popularity and charisma. St. Paul reminds us that real faith is not built on impressive personalities, but on the quiet power of God at work in humble hearts. God works most powerfully when we accept our weakness and depend on Him. When we place our confidence not in ourselves but in Christ, our faith becomes firm and alive, grounded not in words but in the living power of God. Have you heard the idiom, not worth his salt? It comes from the ancient world where salt was precious and valuable. Soldiers were sometimes paid in salt, and a person who did not do his duty was considered not worth the salt he received. Jesus uses this powerful image in today's gospel, taken from Matthew, to explain the role of his disciples in the world. Jesus tells his listeners, "You are the salt of the earth." Now, salt has many purposes. It gives flavor, preserves food from decay, and adds value. In the same way, Christians are called to bring goodness, hope, and moral strength into society. When followers of Jesus live according to his teaching, they help prevent the world from becoming cold, corrupt, or indifferent. But Jesus also gives a warning. Salt can lose its saltiness. Spiritually, this happens when disciples lose their inner fire, when bitterness, unforgiveness, compromise, or selfishness takes over. When we stop living what we believe, we may still look religious, but our witness loses its power. We are no longer what we are meant to be. Jesus then shifts to another image, light. Light does not exist for itself, it exists to be seen. A lamp is not lit to be hidden, but to brighten the whole house. Jesus reminds us that faith is not private only, it must be visible in our words, choices, and actions. When we live with honesty, compassion, forgiveness, and courage, others see God at work through us. Importantly, Jesus says our good works should lead people not to praise us, but to glorify God. The goal is not attention, but witness. Our lives should quietly point beyond ourselves to God's love and mercy. Jesus reminds us that discipleship is not optional or hidden. We are salt and light by calling. The question is not if we influence the world, but how. This week, let our faith be seen in one concrete act of mercy, forgiveness, or courage, so that others may give glory to God. Are we worth our salt? May God bless us all.